Stream this to my audience at the same time.
Hello and welcome to the Renny Show. It's lovely to be back with you again. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
And hello, Nicky.
Hello.
And as you can all see, if you're watching, I'm actually in the same room as Nicky, which is wonderful. So it's a great opportunity to actually have some face-to-face conversation. Obviously, Jenny is still down in the Cotswolds, so won't be joining us face-to-face, but that's all good. The wonders of modern technology. So on today's show, we have our guest, Nicky Thomas, who is the founder of the Growth Community, which is often described as relaxed but purposeful networking. And Nicky has built an incredible community in the just over 3 years now. It's in the 4th year of operation that the Growth Community has been going. There are now 10 plus groups and a great big community that's still growing with lots and lots of people, all who have been brought together with similar values and work together to help each other grow their businesses. So we're really thrilled to have you with us, Nicky. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, no doubt.
I've always got time for you.
Oh, thank you. Very kind, very kind. Okay, so we will go to our first question, which is from Jenny.
So, Nicky, you've been in business for a long time. And you've done lots of networking, including running networking groups. And my question is, what was the tipping point that made you want to start your very own network?
Well, it's a bit of a funny old story, really. Yes, I've done lots and lots of networking, and I have been in business for 20 years now. But the actual tipping point, really, and for my own network, was kind of thrown at me, really. I didn't have any choice. I had a very difficult situation going into the pandemic, where we'd had some issues with the franchise I've been working under, and I was in a position where I was no longer able to actually trade, even though I had a bunch of people in networking meetings. So I've got to say, at that point I was feeling pretty tired and really I felt really drained from the whole thing, and I really didn't feel like I wanted to start a business from scratch. That hadn't been my intention. I've got 2 children, and my original plan was go with the franchise. A lot of the stuff in the background gets done for you. I can run a business and have time and have my kids, and it'll be great. And suddenly there I was thrust with having to start a business from scratch. And as we all know, starting a business from scratch is a lot harder. It takes a long time to get traction, and there's so much that has to go into that. But I was in a really fortunate position. I'd spent a lot of time networking. I'd built a network. I had an amazing group of people around me who I'd made the deposits in the bank. I'd helped lots of people. They'd helped me. We'd built really strong relationships. And so when I needed to start again from scratch, literally people just formed an orderly queue. Literally everyone said, we want you to do this, we know you can do this, and even though I didn't totally believe it at the time, that everybody just got stuck in and said, come on, we're doing this, you need to do this, we want you to do it, so how can we make this happen? And literally everyone was there. You need a logo, you need a brand, let me talk, let's have conversations about what's in your head, you need a website, everything I needed, everyone was there, because I'd done the time, put the effort in, I knew the people, I'd built trusted relationships with those people. So we were all ready, to just crack on and get on with it. That makes it sound really easy, because it really wasn't. It was a roller coaster of trying to set something up from scratch, in the middle of a pandemic, when we didn't know whether we were in a room, out of a room, what we were doing. So actually the reality was, but the tipping point, I guess, was I had no choice. It was that or get a job, and I wasn't ready to get a job. No one would employ me. It was do my own thing. And that was kind of exciting, I guess, because it allowed me to decide how I wanted a network to look, what I liked, what I disliked, what I thought should be there. And that was actually quite an exciting place to be, actually, to be able to sort of design my own network, my own networking community. And what we actually created was something very different to what was out there, and allowed me to be able to kind of bring the right people together and do something really special. So it was forced on me, but I'm really glad it was.
Fantastic.
And I think what you You made really good points there about the fact that actually there were lots of things that you could, almost like the equivalent of transferable skills, is that and we often underestimate those, don't we, when we're in transition. We go from one thing to another, and we forget that actually quite a lot of the things that we have already built up, the experiences that we've had, the knowledge, the techniques, the resources that we have, we can take with us.
And I think it's really important in business to actually, that's something you should be working on all the time, because you never know, you're going to need different people to help you along the way. And the one thing that I am very fortunate for is whenever I decide I need to do something new in my business or even in my own life, there's always someone there who can help. There's someone there that I already have a trusted relationship with, that are in the bank ready for when I need to use them. And even down to, I recently had to start homeschooling my daughter in September because of illness, and I needed an English tutor. Well, guess where she came from? One of my members said, one of my best friends, that I've had since I was a child, is an English tutor, and she's looking for some work, and she's absolutely brilliant. And she introduced me, and her and Georgie just got on so brilliantly, and it's been a brilliant relationship. I wouldn't have known where to look. I'd have just been online looking for an English tutor, whereas I was able to go to my trusted network and find somebody that I could trust to take care of my daughter getting through her GCSE English. So, it's not always just in business. You need to be building these relationships and banking them for future reference, because you will need different people along the line. And it's, it always upsets me when I see people just putting something on LinkedIn going, I need a recommendation for, and you think, oh no, don't do that, because the snake oil people are still out there. Actually, you need to go out to your trusted people and say, who do you work with, and who do you know, and who can you actually recommend, not just tag in a post. Who do you trust to help you? So it's really important, actually, and it was my saving grace. It's what it was what saved me and allowed me to do what I needed to do.
It just shows you the power of networking, doesn't it? It's
Absolutely
huge.
And not just what your network knows, but who they know. So it's the ripple effect, isn't it? So you might know 500, but each of those 500 people, or even 50, you might know 50 people, but each of those 50 people will know at least 100 people each, and all of them might, at some point there will be a connection or an exchange of some kind. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay, so moving on to the next question then. So, Nicky, what values are important to you in the people that you choose to do business with? And I know this is something that you're quite passionate about.
Yes. So when I started the Growth Community, it started from a set of values. That's where it began. I didn't just start a networking organisation before I decided what it was going to look like, getting my values nailed down and the vision and the mission of what we wanted to achieve. I spent a lot of time on that. I had the luxury of it, actually, because lockdown gave us a bit of time to be able to actually spend thinking about things rather than just having to just run off and do stuff. And for me, I wanted to create a community that, that in the truest sense, because a community is a bunch of people who believe in the same things. We hear a lot in networking circles, you hear so much that kind of concept of, come and join some like-minded people. And it's like, like-minded for me just seems so diluted. It's like, like-minded for me is that we both support the same football team, or we both like coffee, or we both hate tea, or whatever it is. That for me feels like-minded. I think in business it's much more important that you do business with the people who share your values. And business is so much nicer and so much easier when you work with people who share your values. It's really hard to work with somebody who doesn't share your value system, or at least has some overlap with your value system. And actually, it's not fun for anybody, that, and it's not a successful way to do business. So that was something I put a lot of effort into up front. My values are very much around I have a very strong emphasis on saying thank you. I don't think we do it enough. I think people underestimate the value of someone saying thank you, but it's massive. And so I really wanted to get that ingrained into the growth community. I also believe that, I believe in people doing what they say they're going to do, and being reliable. I think for me in business, if you are not reliable, I can't do anything with you. I can't refer you. I can't work with you. Reliability for me is a very important value. It's a very important part of doing business, because I just think it, when you don't trust, relationships are built on trust. If you don't trust that someone can do something, then that is that's a real deal breaker, if you know what I mean. And I just believe also in we use a hashtag at the growth community of working together. I just think collaboration in business is such a massive part of what we do. That competition, I even hate competitor analysis, because I don't really see anyone as my competitor. Not anybody. There are lots of networking organizations out there, and actually I would expect my members to be members of multiple networking organizations. So therefore I don't see them as competitors. I see them as being complementary. There is always going to be someone doing something slightly different to you, or has a different value system or a different way of doing things. And I think it's for us to identify that and see how we can actually work together. So working together is a huge part of what I do. I think collaboration is so powerful in business, and identifying the people who are synergistically useful to you and building those trusted relationships. So I think that's fundamentally where the growth community came from, and our language that we use and the way we behave. Literally everything stems from that. We do a lot of we do member of the month to recognize the people who are living and breathing our values. We look at all different ways to encourage collaboration. Our hashtag is working together, and the meeting format is designed to create collaborative conversations and say thank you. So it's all in there, and it's what drives it forward, really. So I think people don't see values as being important. I hear people talk about brand all the time, and it gets very much about what it looks like rather than how it feels. And I think you have to start with how it feels before you decide what it looks like. And actually, the growth community branding is actually a circle, but it goes from small dots to big dots. And there's that whole idea of growth, because I really explored growth when I set this up. About the types of growth you get in networking. It's not just about more customers. It's growth of yourself. It's it's growth of your contacts. It's growth of your knowledge. It's all that stuff that comes from it. So yeah, values have to underpin everything you do, I think.
So those values and that vision that you started with, how does that feel now in the period of growth that you've seen in the 3 and a bit years that the growth community has been going?
I think it has. I think it's underpinned every decision I've made. Every decision I've made, every when I've sat and stared at something and thought, this doesn't feel like it's doing what it's meant to do. If I've got a group that doesn't feel like it fits within what I'm trying to achieve, I'm not afraid to change it, close it, move it, do whatever needs to be done. I am very strict about what this is and what it isn't. And I think it's enabled me to grow in the right way. It's allowed me to make the right decisions. Some of those tough decisions, actually, because I think you can easily go off piste a little bit by saying yes to things that perhaps weren't the right things. I think it allows me to be able to make the right decisions, say yes to the right decisions, say no to things that really don't fit within that, and being really clear that this is the bus, this is where it's going, and these are the kind of people I want on it, and we don't want anything else. So hence why we don't sell to people. We allow people to make their own choice about joining us. They find their own way there, because in the beginning we had sales processes and all kinds of stuff, and I just went, nah, I don't want this. This isn't how what we need to do is create the community exactly within the boundaries of what we said we're going to do, and it will attract the right people and they will find their own way there, and you don't need to do anything else. And that has been really successful. We've grown in a nice way without the wrong people being there, and the right people being able to come in and feel what it feels like and know it's the right place for them. So I think it's kept that North Star, that guiding light. It's kept us on track where we wanted to be, and I think it's allowed us to grow in a sensible and a really a really healthy way, actually. Yeah, I think you've got to keep going back and staring at it and reminding yourself what you set out to do.
And I think there's a lot in that, in all the things we do in business and in life. You know, if we keep referring back to that shining star and seeing that we are going in the direction we actually want to, does it align with what we planned? I think that's really important. So I love the bus.
Some people call it their purpose, don't they? It's that thing about keeping and giving you. I think when you're clear about your values, that was music to my heart and my soul. I guess because I'm a values driven person, so that really resonated. But I think that when everything is based on those values and you've got your North Star, your purpose, actually you've got a really secure framework, haven't you, to build on, which is just lovely.
And I think purpose is so important now, isn't it? I think people sort of they kind of almost leapfrog over it a bit when they're deciding what to do. And I really like the Jim Collins concept of the hedgehog, where you have the three interconnecting circles. With the top one is what are you passionate about, and then the bottom one is what are you the best in the world at, or what are you the best in Lincolnshire at, or whatever it is, and what drives your economic machine, kind of thing. So, you know, what are you passionate about, what can you be the best at, and what can you actually make some money at? Because that's, at the end of the day, we're still in business and we have to actually make some money. But when you get that inner circle where they all come together, that is your purpose at the end of the day, isn't it? And sometimes you can be passionate about something and really good at it, but it doesn't make you any money, or you can be good at something and it makes money, but you're not passionate about it. So it's finding that sweet spot in the middle, isn't it?
Sweet spot in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you our third question, and I need to just before I ask it, not that I want to frighten anybody, but I just need to say that potentially this might be slightly controversial, and there's been quite a lot of controversy around this kind of thing. But I know it's very important to both Rachel and I. So I thought, so I was keen to ask you this question. Could you give us an example of a time when you felt compelled to stand up for a person or a situation or an issue that you really believe in? And I think obviously that's linked to values, isn't it? So, you know, when you've really stood up, raised your head above the parapet and stood up for something that you believe in.
I'm quite good at saying what I think, to be honest. I'm one of these people who will tell you exactly how it is, and probably done this many times in many places. But actually, the thing that comes to mind, which is really, really bizarre, actually, is way, 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 way back when I was at school. I went to I went to a private school, and it was one of those schools that had a terrible uniform where everyone used to, take the piss out of us, because all the schools around, were just like, we all used to end up, all the different schools, at this bus stop. And I never really used to say very much. I used to be quite quiet, believe it or not. I had no confidence as a child. But I remember just standing there, and there was some younger girls there in front of me, and these kids were really being horrible and kicking them and throwing them things at them and saying horrible names. To give you perspective, the uniform was bottle green. It was very old fashioned, and had like the big old gabardine mac and the awful A-line skirts and all that kind of stuff. Well, they all had like the kind of local comprehensive kind of uniforms, and they were saying all kinds of awful things. And I remember just stepping up and just saying something to these kids that I knew was intelligent and they wouldn't understand me, and just putting them on the spot, and then just taking them aside and just trying to explain to them, actually this is wrong. And I don't know where it came from, because it was a really stupid thing to do. I could have been absolutely beaten up, but it's that was kind of the moment, I think, and when I felt like I could do that again. And I've done it so many times. I've stood up for people all over the place. I'll always stand up for somebody. It gets me into lots of trouble. But I do believe very strongly in things, and I do have a very strong sense of justice. And if I think something's not right, I will step up and I'll say something. So these days, perhaps I'm a little bit more cautious about what I'm wade in on. But I see this a lot in business. You know, people get bullied in business. People are, people are told things that, you know, I can see straight away that it's the wrong thing to do. When you've been in business a long time, you can see there's so many people come in, and like you were talking the other day about, you've done the 3-hour coaching training course, and suddenly you're a coach, you know, and the amount of that I see, and the amount of times when people come to me and say, oh, you know, such and such has suggested I do this. So, you know, I have actually waded in sometimes and just actually gone and said, please don't do this. You know, please don't, this is the wrong advice. You mustn't do this. It's going to destroy your business. And I've actually even gone and spoken to some of the coaches before and sat them down and said, please stop doing this. Because the amount of businesses that I've seen who it's been costly. You know, they've been given advice that is, you know, is wrong. We all can see it's wrong. And they're just not, they might be able to advise people on a very sort of linear level, but when it gets a bit weird, they don't have the knowledge or the experience to be able to support those people. And I've seen people make very costly errors in their business by taking advice. So yeah, I will take up with people in business. I also will, you know, if I don't believe that someone is right in my own business, I'll take them aside and say, I don't think this is the right place for you. You know, I think you've got to stand up for, like we said, you know, you've got a vision and values in your business. You've got to be really, really clear on that, and you can't make any exception, because one or two wrong people can damage a whole, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think standing up, it's there's many levels of it, really. You know, yes, I'll lay you down where it needs to be, but I think also it's about being true to yourself, and you know, making sure that other people are being true to themselves, but also about being true to your business, because I think when you dilute your business with the wrong decisions or the wrong people, or people who are, you know, not behaving in a way that you think is good quality in business, you have got to make those decisions. You have got to stand up for it, and you've got to do something about it, because you know, your reputation takes a lot to build, and you don't want to dilute it with people who are not right. You know, I've had people in my own business over the years who I've seen to not be, you know, not have integrity, not behave correctly, and they have to go. Simple as that. You know, that you can't win it all, but you have got to be clear. You have got to stand up for people, and you have got to make sure that, you know, if people have come into your community, that you can take care of them the best that you can.
And they may not be right. They may not be right for your business. They might be absolutely fabulous for something else. It's
Absolutely.
just they haven't found their space. So actually,
and hence why you have the relationships with other people who do what you do, because you know, quite often I can see that I can look at someone's personality and think, I know you'd be better over here. So you know, and I will always manage people out in a way that they feel that they've made the decision themselves as much as humanly possible, unless, you know, it is a very serious situation. But and believe me, there have been a couple of those, more scary than you actually think. But yeah. You get. I think when you've got a good relationship with people who do what you do, you can feel where they need to go instead of with you.
Yes. We've obviously asked you three, you know, our three questions. Now we're going to put ourselves in the firing line. So it's your turn. It's your turn to give us your question for Rachel and me.
Okay, here we go then. So, have you ever had a really emotional moment in business when you just stood there and realised you'd done what you set out to do? You know, that real sense of achieving your kind of purpose in life. And what was it?
Wow, go for it, Jenny. Yeah. I'll type it in and get it on the screen.
Yes, I have. I was asked to coach in an organization where I was an interim kind of head of learning and development, and I was asked to start coaching somebody who had risen through the ranks of the organization. They'd reached quite a senior level. They'd never had any professional or personal development. They'd just, you know, worked themselves up from their bootstraps, and they wanted to go to the next level. And they had, and I, you know, they had asked me to coach this person, and I spent a year coaching them, and they were an absolute dream to coach, because they were seizing the opportunity. They'd never had that. They everything that we talked about, everything that they did what they said they were going to do. They tried it. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. It was just amazing. And there were a number of times where in the senior exec team, people had kind of been a bit dismissive of both coaching and this person, or are they really up to the, you know? And they had to do their, as part of their selection for the next kind of senior level, they had to do a project. They had to, and the person I was, it was absolutely brilliant. It was just phenomenal. She won, you know, she won her place rightfully. They promoted her, and she won manager of the year for the whole organization. They do national awards, and I was just so proud of her, and all that she had achieved. And the feedback that she had given to me was that when we started, she said, "Oh, I thought it was just about work, but actually, you've transformed my life." Because all of the things we discussed, you know, all of the things you coached me on at work, I have applied in my home life with my family. And this is a person who used to go to the same holiday destination every year because she was too frightened to go anywhere else. And now I see her flying all over the world on holidays to the most amazing destinations, and she just is living her best life. It's just fabulous. And I'm so proud of her, um, because she grasped that opportunity with both hands, and she worked her socks off. Um, and but I'm also kind of proud of me, because actually it was a fantastic, you know, it was a fantastic relationship. It was what everything that coaching should be. It was absolutely brilliant.
It's actually an incredible legacy, actually, isn't it? You know, because it goes far beyond just, you know, doing all right at work, isn't it? I mean, it's a whole, that's a whole life, isn't it? It's going to be something entirely different.
And her family's life, and her, you know, her grandchildren's, and as you say, it's intergenerational impact. So yeah, that's my
love it.
Fantastic. Okay, so my example, so when I started my coaching journey, obviously, as for most people, one-to-one coaching is where you get all your experience. But I knew I wanted to do something in a small group environment, to have a group program where a small, you know, select number of people could come together in a really supportive environment, and they didn't have to have the same goals, but they, you know, had similar things on their mind about things they would like to sort of look at within their life, within their business, whatever it might be. And when I first put the group program together, I remember distinctly, after delivering the first group session, I think I had 5 people on that first one, and it was a 2-hour online session because we were in the pandemic, or in the midst of, so couldn't do face-to-face anyway. And I came off as soon as I, you know, clicked end on the Zoom. I was literally dancing around the house, went straight to my husband and was just jumping up and down and, you know, smiling, laughing, a bit of a cry. You know, it just felt, I knew in that moment, you know, really deep down in my soul that program was the right thing for me to be delivering. It doesn't take away from the one-to-one work that I do and will always do, but it just, you know, and that was only the first session of a 6-month, what's now a 10-month program, but it was only the first session. So it wasn't like there'd been enormous light bulb moments for everyone. You know, there was still lots of work to do, but it just felt so right. And I truly felt like I was achieving what I'd set out to, and it just felt brilliant. The bee's knees.
Yeah, I think Well, I may as well answer my own question. Well,
go for it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not even. I mean, like, you know, what you were just saying there, you know, about the, you know, Jenny, about the, you know, that big life impact thing. I get a lot of people who come and say to me, you know, I don't know what I'd have done in business without you. You know, I mean, I had a really embarrassing call the other day when I was on the online Tuesday meeting, and everyone was saying I wouldn't be here without Nicky, and I was thinking, I was getting a bit cringy now, and I feel a bit uncomfortable. But actually, my moment was a really simple thing. It was 2 years. Not January, just gone the January before, I organised my first community get together, and my vision for this had always been this sense of not having lots of networking groups, but having this united community. And you know, with pandemics and stuff, it hadn't been that easy, and you know, and all the rest of it. And I decided to just have a go at putting a bunch of people in a room and said, right, I'm gonna have a get together of everybody. And I remember saying to the hotel, I'm not even sure if anyone will come. And they said, do you think you can get 30 people? And I was like, I don't know. And they said, well, I'll give it a crack. And I said, yeah, okay. And then we did it, and we got 70 odd people in a room out of a total of 100 members. 70 of them turned up for that room, and I was the last person to walk into the room, you know, where we were having the event. And I opened the door, and I just stood there for about, I don't know, I could have been there for 2 minutes. I just stood and stared at the buzz that was going on in front of me. Everyone was hugging each other, and they were laughing and talking, and the noise was incredible. And I just stood there and thought, I did it. I actually did this. I set out to create this really positive community of people, and there they all were. They were just, you know, the noise and the energy that had come from that through that door was something incredible. And it was I actually had to compose myself before I walked through the door, because I couldn't believe I'd done it. And you know, we did it again this January, bigger and better. And you know, it's amazing to see what, when you get a group of people together in one place who all believe in the same thing, it's an incredible energy. So yeah, that was mine.
Oh, fantastic. I'm really pleased to share that.
That's it is. It just does your heart good. And thank you so much, Nicky. As I suspected, we have had the most amazing conversation, and we could probably carry on all afternoon.
Yes.
But I suspect that we're running out of time. So I just wanted to say, on behalf of Rachel and myself, thank you so much for coming and being our guest. And would you like to just tell people where they can contact you, where they can find you, how they can be part of the growth community, so that they know where to find you, seek you out?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been absolutely lovely. So thank you for having me. And in terms of getting in contact with me, so you can visit our website, which is thegrowthcommunity.co.uk. You can see all of our meetings on there and be able to book meetings. Incidentally, if you're just interested in networking, there's a library section on there. I write lots of blogs and various things about networking. So if you just want to learn something new about how to do that better, then feel free. And on that note, I also have a recently launched YouTube channel as well, which I think is _growth_community on YouTube, but just search for us on there. There's lots of video on there that we've shared about various things, including Rachel. Actually, we do our Member Monday videos, and there's a lot of videos on there, me talking about networking and how it works and that sort of stuff. So but yeah, other than that, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. I'm fairly noisy on there. I'm always talking about networking, so come and connect with me. I would love to meet you.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much
We
for
will
that.
definitely do
And
that.
I just want to echo Jenny's thanks for being with us. It's been a fab conversation. So thank you to anyone that's been listening in. And don't forget, we love to carry on the conversation. So if you've got any comments that you want to add, please do let us know of your own experiences, anything that resonated with you from the conversation that we had. Quick note before we end. So our next episode will be on the 24th of April, which will be an episode with Jenny and myself. And then on the 8th of May, we've got our next guest, who is David Lilly. And I'm not going to say any more than that because it's going to be a really fantastic conversation. So put it in your diaries and listen in because it's going to be a good one. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you to Nicky.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to Jenny. And we look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care.
Nice to see you. Thanks a lot.
And until next time, be inspiring, be brilliant, and be safe. Bye-bye.
Fantastic. Bye.